Hello and welcome to Fun with Flags. Clover is here. People are laughing at me, so that's great. Not Fun with Flags, but a fake writer's lunch, which is fun. We're at Milan's Creperie, open in the morning, at night, for delivery, for takeout, which is better than nothing. I'm glad to have anything, and we are hopefully going to get maybe some questions from people on stress and writing productivity and how to keep sane right now, which is always a problem with writers, keeping sane, but specifically right now is one of the funnest times to attempt to. Everybody who writes has another job. There is definitely a lot to be said for everyone has another job, whether it is taking care of kids, whether it is taking care of someone in your life, whether it is a job that you go to and get paid for, whether it is part-time work or whatever. There's no obstacle of, I don't have the time. It is always just little bits that get it done. For years, I worked, I had odd jobs, I did stupid things, and I was a curator and art writer. Omar from Houston Free Press pushed me towards that. I was very glad for that start back in the day. And the practice of doing that, not really getting paid, maybe a little bit, was awesome because then I was able to get in the habit. So each month had an article to write. Each month had an article to write. At a certain point, I'm writing for Art in America. I'm writing for Art Forum. And I was very happy about having the structure of writing a bit each time, doing my research and writing to push that forward. Completely blew that up. And this was what happened the last time the entire economy collapsed. I thought, fuck this, I'm gonna go stand on a street corner. And I decided to make crepes. So I completely cut writing out of my life. I completely cut reading out of my life. I believe that I watched a lot of movies still, which is great, but other than that, just kind of pushed along. Years later, it was nice to move up from a street stand into a grocery store, into a food hall, and finally an open restaurant here just after Harvey. So we've been open about 2.5 years, and I'm very happy for that. Since coming back in here and since rediscovering reading, I've had a good push to start writing. A little bit at a time, short things, and then the push of NaNoWriMo really made me write the first big thing that I had written since getting out of college and writing a book, art history, to get out of college. NaNoWriMo is happening this April. It is the 19th of March today. And you absolutely can look up Camp NaNoWriMo, see how that structure can work for you to try to get a certain number of words done in 30 days. I said my goal is 50,000. That's what I did for the normal NaNoWriMo, and you can do that for camp, or you can pick other projects, but any sort of structure really helps push you to each day. Absolutely. I love it. Ian's got a message right here. What are your tips on handling burnout? Tips on handling burnout is switch to something else. It is great to have a bunch of irons in the fire. You should be working on something that's big. You don't have to be working on it every day. You should be outlining or brainstorming for a new idea. Don't have to do that every day. There is something to be said for writing short things. What did I do on Monday? I was a bit frustrated at the whole COVID and all that. And so what I did was I wrote 2,000 words about how sandworms survive and the evolution of them, and relating that to different animals in the Earth existence and stuff like that. And I put it up on Reddit under the Dune subreddit. That was great. It was just something to do. And it had nothing to do with anything, but it was a piece of writing that I could get done. You can start a blog at any time. You can write short stories that back up what you are doing in a longer piece. I I recently had my first sci-fi thing published. I was very happy for that. Defunct magazine, in their third issue, published a slipstream nonfiction. And essentially it was Future Floods of Houston. Future Floods of Houston is basically as if it is a history textbook. And that's a history textbook written 30 years from now. And everything that happens in the next 10 years from starting at 2021, these terrible disasters that are not too dissimilar from floods that have happened in the past 10 years. Science fiction example. Doesn't have to do with anything. A great way to think about it is that writing is therapeutic. You're able to push things forward and build on top of what you're feeling right now by doing writing. I absolutely have a heckler and I love it. But then I have a second heckler, which is my wife over there, who's taking pictures of someone standing behind me. There's no better day than today to start. Little things really matter, and really starting on anything, whether it is just outlining, whether it is just a short story, a flash fiction piece, or even just researching what you want to do is great. Absolutely. Write what you want to read. Writing what you want to read is awesome because you totally can find what you like to read. Going back to Reddit, there's a subreddit that is for writers. There's other ones for science fiction writers and self-published authors, and it's great to just kind of look through them. Don't go into the comments; they will totally F you up. But there was a guy who said, "I think I'm going to start writing." I don't read very much. I don't write very much, and the reading is really the point to start. For me, it took about 4 years between getting back into reading fiction, and actually starting to write. Super happy to have people who had come to Writer's Lunch. Shannon Winton, who will be doing a video after this, is also doing a lot of editing, and she was great to be able to push things and let me feel like I was accepted in that. We had a lot of people come who were published authors who would say things that really helped me out, pushing things together and feeling like I didn't need to do a whole bunch, including Stephanie Whittles Walks, who said, basically took a bunch of blog posts that she had written after the passing of her brother and was able to change that into a book. And her minimum was, okay, I'm going to write 15 minutes a day. That's not even a lot of words. A self-published and well-known, I would say, she's awesome. She likes crepes. Romance writer, Susanna Nix. She came and she talked about she had kids. She had a lot of stuff to do in her life. And when she found that she had a break, she at least said, I'm going to write 500 words a day. And so even during those burnout periods when you don't feel like you want to work on what you're supposed to work on, 500 words a day or 15 minutes. But writing something is important. The thing that starts before that is reading. The reading thing, we called the place Melange Creperie, and I named it after a French word that just means mix up bunch of anything, which was fun. But I had two people making Dune references to me, the spice from Melange, to ignore it. And Chuck Close, who's a great photographer and now lives in San Diego, made like a deep cut reference to the prison planet of Saluka Salundis, and I just had to go read Dune. So unfortunately, if you read Dune, you have to read the rest of the Frank Herbert novels. And if you read 6 Frank Herbert novels, you're officially into science fiction and you find other things you want to read. James S.A. Corey with the Expanse series, Alistair Reynolds with some great things, really taught me a lot about story structure, really taught me a lot about building character, and I pushed on from there. It's very interesting when you start to write to see how your reading changes. Your reading changes because you start to learn about story structure, because you start to see the bones, the skeleton of what you are already writing. What you're already watching, whether it's movies, TV shows, life events. I kind of like how politics plays out as a tragedy or a comedy, But you can literally see where people who are working in marketing, in politics, are using story structure ideas to work and massage messaging. My diary, realizing the catharsis of writing and exercising your mind. My daughter, who has been bouncing up and back behind me a few times, I do love that at a certain stage, okay, writing 2 sentences is ridiculously hard. Don't even want to do it. And when you grow up and you're away from writing and you're away from reading, 2 sentences can feel like that's hard. But a little notebook, 2 sentences is all you need to have a diary. You can pick it up, you can do that, and over time you can see your life putting together what it actually means to be a writer. Now, the catharsis of it is going to be really important right now. Everybody's got things on their mind. Everybody's got things that are terrible that are happening to them. Even if you just express how it matters to you, what is happening in your life, it is going to be able to be taken care of internally better through expression and better through writing. You might push off that time when you feel like you can't take it another few days, another few hours, another few months. Nobody knows how long this is going to last, and that's kind of the worst part of it. I had a fun time last night watching Knives Out, and Shannon said that was a super great movie, and I finished it, and I took a step back and realized I had not thought about all of this crap going on for an hour and a half or 2 hours. It is so difficult to push yourself out of worrying about the present moment, thinking about what's going to come into the future, picking up writing as a hobby or continuing writing as a hobby is very much going to be a part that can really help a lot of people push through the issues that we're going through right now, anything that comes in the future, but focusing on the written word and what you can do to express your own feelings or imaginary feelings that get you away from everything you're worrying about is important. I'm going to say for drawing, I'm going to say for painting, absolutely. You're going to get the same kind of thing out of it. But we're talking about writing. This is Writer's Lunch. We gather here every Thursday at 1 o'clock at Melange Creperie, and we're happy to talk about where we're at, any stages of it. You're a professional writer, you're a published writer. We've had them, absolutely. You're working on something, you're editing something, you're finishing something, you're just starting. You're just thinking about starting. We love to see you guys, absolutely. The breakdown of story structure is going to be very interesting. If you guys start to learn about it, you'll see where it comes into play in some of your favorite pieces, some of your favorite books, some of your favorite writing, some of your favorite musicians, let's say. But don't worry about starting and not knowing what you're talking about, because for sure, YouTube, live streaming, performance art, mixed media, jumping back and forth, these are going to be part of our future story structure. It's not going to fit the formula nearly as much as it was. So anybody who's thinking about, well, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to put together a narrative and stuff like that, you can start anywhere. You can start with little pieces. You can start with things that build towards learning about story structure, but at the same time, your efforts are going to be well rewarded once you realize that most of the things in our lives are not going to fit to this in the future. It's changing all the time. And for all the videos that my daughter watches where somebody is making it in their living room, that's going to become a new type of writing, of slice of life that has nothing to do with story structure. So do what you can, put it together. Little things are important. 2 sentences in a diary is a great place to start. Absolutely. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for a little bit. I don't know if anybody wants to type questions. Maybe Clover wants to say hello for a moment.
Hi.
You were just trying to look at it. But I'm very happy to talk to you guys today. And this Invisible Writers Lunch, there are people who are interested in this stuff. There are people who are around in the Houston area. Visit the Houston Independent Authors page and see kind of what the community is talking about. Post your questions and stuff like that. Don't forget to answer the 2 questions that are in there in order to be accepted into the group. Join Writers Lunch on Facebook. We're a small group of people who meet here, and we'll let you know about different things happening in the Houston area. And Defunct Magazine, that is spelled DEFUNKT, has its 3rd issue out. I'm happy to have a story in there, as well as they are great people who hang out and put together events in the Houston area, both readings as well as parties, as well as mixed media and art things. But check them out. Defunct Magazine, Houston Independent Authors. Am I saying that right? Yes, we are. Houston Independent Authors, as well as Writers Lunch. Join our groups, have fun, do a little bit of writing today. 2 sentences. Thank you.
I know a lot of us are having a hard time. There's a whole bunch of crazy news, and then there's a whole bunch of unknown, and it can be really difficult to kind of keep yourself centered in a time like this. Before we get too far in, I just want to go ahead and say hi, I'm Shannon. I am the lead editor with iTooth Editing. I'm also a founder of Houston Independent Authors and the co-host of Writers Lunch with the fantastic Sean Morris Carroll, excuse me. Let's give him a virtual round of applause for his excellent presentation that just preceded this one. If you didn't catch it, you can go back after Facebook has rendered it and see it. Probably take about 10 more minutes. So after I'm done, you should be able to go check out his if you didn't catch it live. I just want to remind anyone who has questions or comments to please make sure that you're typing them into the Facebook live feed comment section inside this video itself. This live stream may be shared in a bunch of different places, so if you're commenting inside of a post, it's possible that I won't see it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on being your own hero and using the hero's journey to guide your writing. What does this even mean? I want to share a quote with you. Everyone is necessarily the hero of his own life story. There's another, 7 or 8 versions of this quote, but I like John Barth's particularly because he used it in his short story, The Remobilization of Jacob Horner, back in 1958. In this story, Jacob, the protagonist, he suffers recurrent bouts of physical paralysis. And his doctor eventually states the cause is the fact that Jacob no longer believes he's the protagonist or even a side character in his own life. And so he's lost his sense of agency, and with that, his sense of self, and that's caused paralysis. It paralyzed him. I feel this is really relevant to us right now because many of us feel paralyzed. There's so much fear of this terrible disease or catching it yourself or having a family member die of it. And people are inexplicably hoarding toilet paper and bleach, but not Tylenol. People are fighting over resources, and it creates this sense of panic inside of the rest of us. Should we be fighting too? And if we fight, what are we fighting against? And the answer to that is fear. You, intrepid authors, must fight fear because that fear makes you helpless, hopeless, and it paralyzes you. And so this is where the hero's journey comes in. During this webinar, we're going to be looking through the way the hero's journey can help you not just cope with what normal looks like right now, but persevere past it, find ways of writing your story and being your own hero in your writing journey. The hero's journey, like you, it starts with the hero on a regular day, like today, and then something happens that sets them on their journey. And that might be me right here telling you to write. The news says everyone with type A blood is doomed. Well, write. The neighbor says you have to gargle salt water every 15 minutes or you'll get COVID and die. Right. Some meme says you can give it to your dog and your dog was going to pass away because you kissed him on the nose or something. No. Right. How? How do you say? Or excuse me, how, you might be asking me. How are you going to do this? How are you going to get past all this fear? That's you resisting the call to adventure. You may find yourself resisting because you think, I have to watch the news. I have to hear what other people are afraid of. I have to argue on Twitter. I have to go shopping right now because other people are hoarding. I have to go by the drive-by testing sites even though I'm not sick yet. But ask yourself, do you really need to? What do you lose when you give into these fear behaviors? Do these activities help you, or do they make you paralyzed? And the answer is, these are probably paralyzing you right now. And they're not beneficial to you either in your writing life or in your regular life. So what do? You want to think about your writing process as a lead up to a large battle. And so one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you have for yourself a mentor. You want to find somebody who is doing the same kind of thing that you're doing and that they're doing it successfully. So find somebody who is maintaining themselves in these times and ask them for guidance. And then you want to build a crew. I think of this as Robin Hood and his merry men, other people who have similar goals that you do. You want to hold virtual write-ins or mini critique sessions, or just provide support for each other during these processes, so that you have something that's motivating you to get up and do it even when things are tough. And you want to practice, these mad fighting skills. So hone in your writing skills, hone in your planning skills, essentially, to keep yourself going. You want to make sure that if you set a time to write, that you do it, and if it's not working for you for one reason or another, that you figure out why and then revise your plan so that you can get the most output from yourself and the best versions of your writing. You do want to resist the old ways. That means don't go look at junk news. Don't go check out what people are saying on Twitter right now, and don't go out looking for bad information. You want to avoid people who are over focused on what's going on around them, especially people who you know may not be sharing 100% truthful information, or who may be giving you information that is there to scare you. There are psychic vampires out there, and some people just seem to get a sense of power off of feeling like they know more than other people do. And so if somebody is going to do that, you really don't want to indulge their needs. You want to be able to make sure that you're covering yourself. So find resources for information that you feel are trustworthy, and then block everything else out. And then if you really need to indulge yourself, I mean, if you very specifically have something that you kind of know may not be going to give you a whole lot of information, it may be COVID related, but provides you some sort of solace, or it's a way for you to get out your angst, to be in a particular group, go ahead and allow yourself to indulge in those things, but only after you've hit your writing goals. And then again, there is a bonus for finding a reason to write outside of your own need. So if you're trying to show your children, what behaviors that you feel like they should be modeling themselves whenever they're going through a period of trial and tribulation, then continuing on with your goals, whether it be writing or anything else, is a great way to motivate yourself to stick with it. If you have people who need that guidance that your writing provides, especially if you write nonfiction, then you want to go ahead and persevere because other people need you to succeed. And then even if you just have one true fan who's getting through this because your books make them happy and they're excited to read your next one, they need you to succeed. You are their hero and they need you to succeed. So don't stop. The next thing that we're going to go ahead and talk about is the abyss. And that's a big, scary word, especially when we're thinking about, all the bad stuff that's going on right now. But that's a term that's used inside of the hero's journey to mean the biggest challenge of the story. And so you have all these fake things that are getting in the way of you being able to write and you being able to cope. But there are some really big real world challenges that you may come into, and these are the ones that are going to challenge you the most. And so we're looking at things like possible job loss or cut hours, depending on what industry you work in. If your children are out of school and they're home all the time, that may change the dynamic that your family has, especially if you have to stay home with them and you're not used to it. If somebody in your family is ill, whether it be COVID-19 related or if they've got a chronic illness, And then if you have supply chain issues that impact you in real life, these are things that will prospectively cause you to have to struggle in ways that aren't, things that you can just brush aside. And so it's good to remember that writing is important, but real life is important too. And so if you feel like you're being overwhelmed and that you're failing, especially with writing, you need to do a better job planning. You need to go back and look at your coping strategies that you learned in Act 1 and apply them over here as well with these problems should you run into them. And once you do that, you'll find yourself in a circumstance where you've transformed yourself. And I hate to use this word atonement. This I wasn't able to 100% fit into this particular presentation, because that normally means that the hero is meeting a father figure and coming to resolution. But in a way, it does kind of work, because if you're taking action to persevere, it means that whatever paralysis you might be feeling that would paralyze others, it's not going to happen. You being strong helps other people be strong. You being productive helps other people be productive, because you're providing that model through which they can succeed themselves. So if you're modeling your responses to stumbling blocks in a way that's to persevere instead of to fail and become paralyzed, you're helping other people. At the same time, that means that it's okay for you to take away from your writing to, say, educate your children. It's okay for you to look at the world and be like, hey, I'm going to help out. I'm going to go buy groceries or do chores for a neighbor who maybe can't do them right now themselves. It's okay to kind of be annoyed and talk to your friends about how irritating it is to you that there aren't any freaking kidney beans at HEB right now because other people are dumb. That's totally cool. It takes away stress. It's okay to take a day to navigate getting a larger supply maybe of your long-term medicines if that's what you need. And it's okay for you to talk to your financial manager or brainstorm alternate means of bringing in money if you feel your current job position is at risk. These things are all good at helping make sure that you continue on and that you're stable so that you can focus on all of the other things that might act as impetus. So I'm going to go back to that slide, because these are your responsibilities. If you need to bring in money, if you got to take care of your kids, if you got a long-term illness in your family, or if somebody does get sick with an acute disease, or if you have things that are out there that maybe you need, but that could be in short supply. These are real tribulations, and they're the ones that you should be focusing on, and not whether or not you can get COVID from your cat, or the other conspiracy theories. I don't want to name a whole bunch, but I'm sure we've all heard a few. So once you've done that, hopefully you'll have succeeded and you'll have written this book, and it will be amazing. So what do you do then? When you return to the normal world of being somebody who was paralyzed by fear, or who had a really hard time achieving their goals, but you've done it, how do you return to the real world? Well, we talked about a mentor already. You should be helping others achieve the same dreams, but in a different role this time. Do it as a mentor. Teach other people coping strategies. Listen when they tell you about their difficulties with writing, or if they've got a stumbling block in real life. Go ahead and help them out. Give them advice, because if you've done it, you can teach other people how to do it too. And then you're going to want to take these same skill sets of planning, avoiding distractions, or actually hitting them head on, those distractions, and then also outlining your day and planning realistically on how to be productive. You need to take those activities and those skill sets and then realistically use them on your next adventure, whether that be finding an agent, doing the whole rigmarole of searching for them, writing your query letters, sending things out, checking to see if somebody's responded back or how long it's been, whether or not you want to try to contact them, make sure they got your original message, et cetera, et cetera. You could take it towards that, or you could take it towards marketing, building a marketing plan and trying to enact it, and then rechecking on regular intervals whether or not it's working or if you need to pivot. It could also be for other audience building activities. You may have to face Twitter and Facebook and still use those skill sets of ignoring all of the BS so that you can do audience building and engagement. Or if you're going to self-publish, you're going to need all of those skills to continue on for publishing. So remember, there are distractions out there that are real, and you need to face those head on. But a lot of things that we're seeing right now that are scaring people and making them feel paralyzed not just in the regular world, but in writing too, those things you need to go ahead and slay. All right, I don't see any questions. I'm going to stay on for just a few minutes because we did have that technical issue. Hopefully you guys are able to bear with me and see me throughout the whole presentation. I apologize that we broke off for just a minute, but I hope all of you have success in your writing journey and, you know, go forth, write, and provide guidance to those. The one thing we need right now is solidarity and community. And so I hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you and take care.